I used to have one productive week followed by 2 weeks of doing absolutely nothing. Every single time I made progress, I would fall right back into wasting time. And it was so exhausting, and I hated it because I just wanted to keep doing the right things. But that's not my reality anymore. Now I stay on track. I keep my good habits and I barely fall off anymore. And if you want the same outcome, then you've got to understand these three simple things because once you do, everything will change for you. The first thing we gotta cover is figuring out what matters to you. Now, whenever I take on a new client to start working with them, by the way, if you want that to be you, click the first thing in my bio. But whenever I start working with a new client, the first session we have is about figuring out what they want to do with their life, what areas of life matters to them. And so I'm gonna walk you through this process because you're not gonna stay focused if you don't have clarity on what you want to achieve. That's why I have this goal board in front of me with like areas in my life that matters to me, like my entrepreneur, health, family, student, spiritual. These are things that are important to me. These are things I put time into because I know that this is important to me. So for you, how do you figure out what matters to you? And why is this even important? I remember when I first learned about this, it was in the very beginning of my self-improvement. And I saw this diagram with this box. And there were two of them. One was how the average person spends their time, which I'm going to put right here. Does this look familiar to you? Does this seem similar? Because when I saw this box, it looked very familiar to me. I was like, okay, that's what I'm doing. And I don't really feel fulfilled by that. Well, then the next box was this. And it was like, you can spend your time doing nothing with your life, or you can get really intentional about how you want to spend your life and pick the areas that matter to you and go all in on that. And that's exactly what I did. I picked the areas that mattered to me. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I had a sense of direction. I felt like I knew where I was going. And I did, in a sense, because I had picked where I wanted to go. But most of us aren't picking. So my first challenge to you is to pick what you want your whole life to be like. Your life is a box. Like, your life isn't just one thing. It's a box of many different compartments inside of it. But most of us just choose to make our life a form of entertainment, of amusement. And now we just feel like life is passing us by. There's no meaning to it. There's no meaning because you are not choosing what you want to be in your box. You're letting society choose what it wants to be, what it wants your box to be like. And society does not want you to have a meaningful, purposeful life. Society wants you to just be a worker and to die and to just spend money because they want. Big companies want your money. They want you to spend money. They want you to not take care of your health. They want you to just live like a sheep. And this is kind of a rant. I'm getting that point. But I'm going to put the whole life box up again. And I'm challenging you to pick 3 to 5 things off that box that matters to you. And once you have figured that out, and again, I picked, this is things I picked. If you can see it, you can see it. I already told you what it is. But once you figured out the areas that matter to you, the next thing you're gonna do, and this is what I make sure I make all my clients do this, okay? So if you feel like a little like, oh my God, this is too much, I don't want to do it, again, click the link and we can work through it together in my bio. But you want to write down goals for each of the areas you put. And you can write down long-term goals. You can write down a goal for a year, 5 years, 10 years from now. Or you can write a short-term goal, 6 months from now. You can write a weekly goal. All that matters is that you have goals written down. And the thing about this is, I used to never visit my grandparents. I love them. They raised me when I was a little girl. But when I got older, I never visited them. And they're getting older. They're going to leave this earth. Hopefully in 20 years, 30 years, 40. Please. Please. Can they have immortality? Anyway, they're going to leave this earth. And I always felt guilty because I would be in town. I was like 10 minutes down the road from them. They never saw me. But when I figured out what I wanted my whole life to be like, and I picked family, one of the weekly goals I put was to visit my grandparents twice a week. And I set that goal years ago. Now, my grandparents see me so often. When I walk through the door, it's no longer, oh my God, I can't believe you. It's like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Because I've relearned them. They've relearned me, and our relationship has flourished. And I'm so grateful that we were able to build a deeper connection. Because when I wasn't visiting them, our connection faded. I didn't really know them anymore. But that weekly goal, which only came from me getting intentional about how I want to live my life, that weekly goal changed everything. I love them with, like, to the bottom of my heart. And when they leave this earth, I'm crashing out. I'm crashing out. But that's the importance of setting weekly goals. When you set, not even weekly goals, but just goals in general. When you set goals, they influence your behavior. And they get you to do things that you've been meaning to do but haven't been doing. They get you to finally act on those things. So I don't know what goals you're going to set. I have no clue what you're going to do, but I can just offer you two things. First, look on YouTube for how to set goals and think about it. Goal setting is an art form. It really is. And it takes some time to get good at setting goals. So if you're struggling in the beginning, that's okay. Just keep going. Keep thinking about what kind of goal you can set. And whenever you figure out something, go all in on that. And I'll just show you my weekly goals. I'm not going to read it off here. I'll just take a picture and put it a little bit closer up so that you can see it. So you can kind of get an idea of how you can create your weekly goals. And it doesn't have to be anything big. Like, literally, one of my weekly goals is to read 10 times this week. Like, it does not have to be big. And again, it can be long-term or short-term. I've been saying short-term weekly, but it can be years out. Now, you have figured out what you want your life to be about, and you have created your weekly goals. But those two things alone will not stop you from falling off track. Those two goals, those two things you covered is just to create the track you're on. But now we got to keep you on track. And how do we keep you on track? Simple. By reviewing and updating your goals every week. Or like every day. Because I update these every day. But they change every week. I review them, see what I did, and change it. So when I started, this basically is called weekly accountability. And hold on, I gotta sneeze. Please. It went away. Anyway, a book I would suggest you read if you really want to get better at like staying on track is The 4 Disciplines of Execution. But in that book, I talked about weekly accountability. And I remember the first month I did weekly accountability. Now, this was in the very beginning when I was not deep into my self-improvement, just starting out. I remember every Sunday, I got up at 8 a.m. I would go in front of my computer because I had my weekly goals. I had everything set out. And I would review the goals and review my week and ask myself some questions. And for the first 3 weeks, I hated doing the weekly accountability because I never worked on my goals. When I asked what the problem was, it's always because I was spending time with my friends, not doing anything, not making the best use of my time. For the first 3 weeks, I saw firsthand that I was holding myself back, and I hated that feeling. It's easy to hide from that feeling when you aren't like literally looking at the facts, but there's something about when you see the facts on paper, you're staring at it, and it's saying that it's you. It's not the outside world. It's you that does something to your spirit. And I remember I told myself, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of every Sunday I took over my goals. I put new goals, but I feel crap because I'm not working on them. So I need to change this. And that's when a flip happened to me. And I was like, okay, I'm no longer gonna slack off. I'm gonna make sure that these goals get worked on. And will you believe me, by the next week, next Sunday, I was doing so much better working on my goals, and that has never changed. Every single week, I have a weekly accountability session where I look over my goals, I ask a few questions, and I see am I making progress or am I not making progress. And that is the key to staying on track. The key is to keep checking up on yourself. I remember this one friend of mine, she set some weekly goals, and at the end of the week, she was telling me, oh my God, I was so productive. I did so much. I did this and that. And I wrote it down and I crossed it off. I'm like, cool. But then next week, she didn't set new goals. She didn't look over them. She didn't do anything. And so she fell back into doing nothing. And now she's like, how do I just get more productive? Then she set more weekly goals, wrote it up, looked over it, and was productive. But then she fell off again because she stopped checking in on it. So you need to check in on it. That's it. That's the easiest way to stay on track. Check over yourself, hold yourself accountable. And to have a weekly accountability session, all you gotta do is pick a day, pick a time, be consistent. For me, every Sunday, I'm looking at this board and ask yourself a few questions. I'll have the questions pop up so that you can use that as your guide. I don't use the questions anymore because I've been doing this for so long. I don't need it. But if you're starting off, this is definitely something I would recommend that you use. But once you have the day you're gonna do it, you have your questions set up. The next part is just easy work. Just answer the questions, set new goals, and continue the cycle every single week. And that will guarantee you do not fall off track anymore. All right? You've got this. Good luck.